Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Ready, Craig?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. That was my best. What was that dude's name? Michael something from the 90s?
Michael Buffer.
Michael Buffer.
No. Is that? No, he's like the Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy.
That's what I meant, because he starts with, "Are you ready?" And then they go, whenever.
But then like the Gary Glitter Rock and Roll Part 2 starts with, "Are you ready?" Like,
No.
Isn't it? No, that's like a
T
T-Birds thing. I'm thinking about the T-Birds. Anyway, welcome to Podcast versus Everybody.
Hey, that's my job.
Yeah, that's your job. Go, Craig.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Podcast versus Everyone. This is Craig Powers, CougCenter.com. We will not be talking about Gary Glitter because he is a child monster.
Oh, yeah.
Look it up. Just Wikipedia Gary Glitter, and then never listen to that song again.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Jeff, how you doing tonight? Oh, wait, sorry. My co-host, Jeff Newser, also of CougCenter.com.
You didn't tell me to say hello, Jeff.
At one point, hanging with the noose.
That's right. The original. It might even still exist. I don't even know.
And
now I'm curious.
The first multiple years I knew you. No, I think, but it was the first while I knew you, and then the first Coug Center podcast we did way back in the day when it was like even more low quality than this, and that was when I learned that your name was pronounced Nooser, and then your blog made 100 times more sense to me.
You know what's hilarious? It still exists. I'm looking at it right now. Awesome. The original one.
I bet you'll be really proud of a lot of the words you wrote on there too.
Yeah. If any of our intrepid listeners want to see where my blog journey started, you can go to hangingwithnoose.blogspot.com.
I started following
Blogspot.
I started reading you on the Cougar Hoops or whatever one.
Yeah, the wsuhoops.wordpress.com. That was the next iteration.
Yeah, and then I followed you to. I never commented on that, but then Coug Center had a much more convenient commenting system. So.
Oh man, some of my last posts here are like save the Sonic stuff.
Oh.
Anyway, back to happier things.
Anyway,
Cougar basketball. We'll get to that in a sec.
We will. For once, we are looking forward to talking about Cougar basketball. Like, we can't even wait. We mentioned it before the beer. Oh my god.
I know. Yeah, we better talk about beer quick so we can talk about basketball.
All right, so Jeff. I assume you're not. I just saw one of your wife's Facebook posts talking about keto pizza. So I'm assuming you're still on the wagon. And
I am, but I did have beer over the weekend.
Great.
That's kind of my pattern right now is to have a beer on like on a Saturday or a Sunday. So this week my Saturday beer was the bourbon barrel-aged breakfast stout by Skookum. So I bought all these beers at Skookum. So that's why I keep like drinking these Skookum beers on the podcast. That was the last one.
Welcome to the Skookum podcast.
Yeah, the Podcast versus Everyone brought to you by Skookum, right? Maybe we should totally do that. I think we just stumbled into something. You know enough brewers, right? You just you went and had dinner at Three Mags tonight. You should be like, hey, want to sponsor a podcast? We have like 200 listeners.
Hey, I know Hollis Wood, the brewer of Skookum.
I know you do.
And he'd probably be like,
I met him.
I know. You've talked to him. So he'd probably be like, why the hell would I give you money if you're going to talk about my brewery for free every time?
That's a really good point, actually. We kind of overplayed our hand, didn't we? But anyway, so I had the barrel-aged breakfast stout, which is normally I'm not a huge fan of breakfast stouts because the maple and the sweetness can tend to be pretty overpowering. I'm not a big fan of just sweetness in general. And so like a lot of, and obviously this isn't a milk stout, but a lot of like stouts that tend towards the sweet milky side kind of are not my favorites. But this one has, just the right amount of maple to it. It is not overpowering. You get some of the, there's some coffee in there. It is a perfect breakfast stout.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that is an excellent beer. The kind of the lactose he puts in it gives it a real nice sort of milky body. I actually don't know if I've drank this year's yet. I have a few in my fridge, but
Well, now I have something on you.
yeah.
I
I
have drank this year's.
also the first time you had that beer, I gave you one
That is
last
true.
year. So
That is true.
so I guess you kind of have something on me.
We
Uh,
did. I did have it at the Brewers night too that we did out at Pint Defiance
yeah.
when Ransford came out there. Britton Ransford came
Yeah.
out. Yeah,
Soon.
yeah. So anyway,
We'll talk
good
about
beer.
it later when we talk about Cougar Country.
Yeah.
Some words
Ooh.
we can. No. But yeah, so did you actually think about your Gardner Minshew rating this week, or you need more time again?
I did. I was trying to think of a good play where where there was kind of kind of thinking about the maple flavor, right? So the maple flavor is kind of like the syrup on top of the pancakes, right?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think of a game where there was a play where it was just like an awesome play at the end that just makes you smile. That's just sort of like just the syrup on top of the pancakes, not like super spectacular, but just enough for you to go, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So I'm kind of thinking something like, what was it? This wasn't at the end of the game, but maybe that or maybe it was at the end of the game. I can't remember anymore. But that Tay Martin catch where he beasted like two guys on the way to the end zone. I think that was against Oregon State,
Oregon
right?
State, yeah. And he kind of did a Dion high step.
Yeah, because they both the Oregon State defenders kind of ran into each other and then fell down.
Yeah.
So that was actually early in the game.
No, I think it was fourth. It was fourth quarter.
Oh no, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
So I was looking. He had two touchdowns. So there you go. He had a 27-yard touchdown pass with 9 minutes to go that put us up 49-30 to kind of give us the breathing room.
That's
So
the one.
yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Tay Martin, 27-yard touchdown pass, the maple syrup on top of the Oregon State Beaver pancakes.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. So with my beer, you can come on a bit of a journey of my last week here. So the night after we recorded the podcast last week, I got to get up super early and fly to Nashville for a work event. One of our divisions that I work with was having an annual meeting, and it was fun times, lots of free dinners and stuff. But as you know, Jeff, and as our listeners may not know, I lived in Nashville for a period of time, pretty much right when about when I started writing for Cougs or just after.
Yep.
So it's nice. I still have friends there and everything. So I stayed an extra night, which is actually a lot harder these days when you have a baby. But but I stayed an extra night and hung out with some people. It was really cool. I also, because I was staying an extra night, it turned out there was this local brewery, which actually has come up since after I left Nashville, because Nashville has changed dramatically in the 8 years since I've left. The area that this brewery is in was like nothing. But now there's condos and shit everywhere. It's a lot like the way Seattle has transformed in some areas. But so this brewery is called Bearded Iris, and they were having their third anniversary party while I literally right when my meeting got over, it was starting right at that time. So I just handed because I was staying with my friends that night, so I had to check out of my hotel, but I just threw my baggage at the valet and just got in an Uber and went straight there. So I knew they were releasing some pretty big beers. They were releasing a bunch of two different IPAs, a fruited kettle sour, and then the most biggest thing was a barrel-aged barley wine, which was aged in Pappy Van Winkle barrels, If you don't know what Pappy Van Winkle is, it's this incredibly expensive, but also pretty damn delicious bourbon, and then a stout also aged in Pappy Van Winkle barrels. So we get there. I'm expecting a line because they're updating it on their social. I'm telling my Lyft driver, I'm like, hey man, like this is probably gonna be weird. There's gonna be like hundreds of people in line for this. So yeah, I get in line. It's a long wait, but you can drink in line. No one gives a crap. You can even go into the brewery because the party's already started and bring beers out to the line. Because what you're waiting in line for is the bottles. There's very limited number of bottles. So, I was like, hey, I'm here. I might as well see if I can track down the bottles. But so I waited in line for these beers and stuff. One of the ones I got is one I'm drinking tonight. It's called Joyride. I didn't try it at the brewery because I took a 4-pack with me. It's an all Nelson hazy IPA. Nelson is a hop from New Zealand. It's probably, if you'd compare it most closely to a U.S. hop, would be Mosaic, but not exactly like that. It's got a little bit of a different flavor, but it does have the same sort of like dank, like finish that can border on cat pee if you're not good with it. And it was interesting there. They also made an IPA called Triple Homestyle, which is a play on their base beer Homestyle, that was made with all Mosaic. So they went with these two really dank hops for a couple of their anniversary beers. That's what I'm drinking right now. It's a hazy IPA. Before I get into rating that, I'm going to talk a little more because I did get to try those barley wines, and I missed out on bottles of those. I did make some friends in line. We were having a good old time drinking everything, and then I did try the barley wine on draft, and then the stout and bottle later with some friends. So it's an interesting story about Tennessee. Is when I lived there, it was 6% alcohol was like basically technically the cap on beer you could do, like if you were a brewery. And to do more than that, you had to get a distillery license. So when I first moved there, Yazoo was the main craft brewery, and they were making a beer called Sioux, and it was a smoked porter that came in at 9%, and they just kept brewing it until they basically got caught, and then they had to stop brewing it until they got their distillery license. Well, Yazoo did a lot of basically advocating for breweries, and they were them with some other breweries were big in getting that pushed up to 10% without having a distillery license. I can tell you, I know that Bearded Iris doesn't have a distillery license because their barley wine and their imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels was at 10%, which is a little bit lower than you would expect, especially when you're using, because they age these beers for 2 years in barrels, which is a really long time. Like a lot of really good beers do that, but that means you're going to get a ton of like cask presence in the barrel when you're doing that. Like it's going to be very heavily cask driven, and this definitely was true for these beers. It was unfortunate to me a little bit because I thought that the barley wine could have done way better at like 14% or 12% even, because it was just kind of a thinner mouthfeel, and you didn't really get, the cask was so dominant that you couldn't pick up a lot of the barley wine, and maybe you get some oxidation, in 2 years in a barrel. And I think maybe if it was a little heavier malt presence, it could have handled the oxidation, because you could taste a little bit of the oxidation, a little more than I would like. But they were good, but I was just unfortunate because I think if they were not brewing in Tennessee, they probably would have brewed those things at 12 to 14 to 16% or whatever, and they could have been, amazing. So I wasn't too sad that I missed on the barley wine bottles, but I was happy that I got to try it. So anyways, back to this beer, Joyride. It's got a beautiful can. That's what Bearded Iris does, these great cans. I don't know, it's kind of like if you look at my Twitter account, I took a picture of it, but it's rainbow colored and just cute. The best part is on the bottom where it's stamped with the date, it says, "Every cat is a kitty." And
okay.
I read that to Amanda before I came in to record this podcast, and she was like, Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. So yeah, anyways, this beer, so Bearded Iris kind of made their name and has made their money on doing these hazy IPAs, in the 60-ounce cans, which are famous. If let's talk about Skookum again. Like I kind of they're I put theirs along the lines of Skookum in terms of what you'd expect. They're not quite as heavy of the body as like the true New England style IPAs from New England, but they're done very well. They do have the mouthfeel that you're looking for. This one is it works with the Nelson really well because Nelson can be overdone, and it's not, especially an all Nelson one. It's got like a nice dank aroma. It's got a nice finish. I'm enjoying it. But again, there's like a lot of beers in Washington that are also of this quality. That's not a knock on Bearded Iris. They make excellent beer, and then there's a lot of beers in Washington that make excellent beer. So it's really great that Tennessee has a brewery like this now, that's making these modern styles and crushing it. There's a couple out there now. So when I was out there, it was literally one brewery, and I spent all of my time there that I possibly could. But anyway, so Gardner Minshew rating. Now I'm the one that came unprepared because I hadn't had this beer before, so I've just been sipping on it, and it's it's good, but it's like it's an IPA that you can have you'll have a lot, so it's a good play that happens over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, you already chose the mesh route. You used that earlier.
That's right. That was like week one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with it's like a Desmond Patton back shoulder. Like,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, because it's good, and it's kind of like if you hit that if you hit that sweet spot like Bearded Iris has, like Skookum has, where you can make these hazy IPAs and just kind of crush them over and over again. It becomes kind of automatic because you just have it so dialed in with your brewery. Like we know if we make a hazy, it's gonna be good because we just know how to do it. We like honestly, I don't know if that Desmond Patton back shoulder ever fails. Like,
Yeah, I don't know if it ever does.
Yeah, like even when he wasn't as good last year, like Falk would throw, or the season before, Falk would throw that back shoulder and he would catch it, and then it's
Right.
like, yeah. So that was kind of his like origin story, was that back shoulder pass, and now he added quite a lot more this year, but that is probably one of the more automatic throws that we've had since in the last couple of years, and so yeah, Desmond Patton back shoulder throw from Gardner Minshew, and Joyride from Bearded Iris. Well done.
I love it.
Yeah, that was probably the longest I've talked without you talking on this podcast yet.
That's okay. It sounded delicious.
Yeah, I was really excited to try those Pappy Barrel ones. Not quite what I hoped for, but also, that's just my palate, and I know a lot of it. It's been a mixed. I've seen some people love them, and some people are, more along where they're really good, but they just hope they were bigger. But Bearded Iris is a great brewery. Nothing against them, and I was happy I had a great time on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Fun party. Yeah. So Jeff, holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's yeah. Swear words are really the only way to describe what happened last weekend. That's for sure.
Okay. I'm in Nashville. As this will be the theme of the show, I guess. But so I fly in on Thursday night, and I'm at this like company dinner thing where I'm having to I have a list of fucking people that I have to talk to and all this stuff. It's like I got stuff to do, but I'm like, it's fine. Like, if I don't pay attention to the basketball game, they're gonna lose by 25 points, so it doesn't matter. I'm looking at I hit up the Cougs Center Slack, and they're like, you guys are like, WSU was winning and all this stuff, and I'm like, what? And then WSU was gonna win, and what?
Yeah.
And not just win, blow them out of the water.
Win by a lot.
Yeah.
And see, I didn't watch the game live either. We had someone was here doing some work at the house, and so I had to not be at the house, and so I took the boys to dinner. Like Sarah was, I don't know, she had something going on at school or whatever. And so I took my boys out to dinner, and the restaurant I was in, we went to BJ's because they have a pretty good selection of gluten-free items for my gluten-free children. So
Brew house?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you get a beer?
I did not get a beer.
Oh, okay.
I
No taco stout or anything?
No, I was, yeah, no. It's just, I had, you don't even want, I had ribs with no sauce on them. So, whatever.
Get up, baby.
I was a big loser. So anyway, so like all of a sudden we're sitting there and we're waiting for the food to come. And I think, oh crap, the Cougars are on. Totally forgot about that. And so, I pull up my phone and open up the stats, and then I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, this was Thursday night against Arizona State. I'm like, what is happening right now? And then it just, I just kept thinking, okay, well, whatever, the run's gonna come. It's, they're gonna get buried here at some point. They'll screw it up somehow. And lo and behold, they did not. And then on Saturday they didn't screw it up against Arizona. And I did go home eventually. I did go home and watch the game. I actually watched it Friday morning, but still, it was just like, holy crap, man! It's insane, that what they pulled off.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch games till Monday when I got back. But normally I would not, like, I had no plans of rewatching those games.
No, me either.
Yeah,
me either.
But I had to. You got to take the good when it comes. But it was funny when on Thursday when I'm checking my phone and I look at the halftime stats. I'm expecting like 75% shooting and all this stuff, like and then Arizona State's still going to be up 50% or something, blah blah. But that was the crazy thing is, I think WSU was shooting like 52%. They did hit, their effective field goal percentage was pretty high because they were like 9 of 17 from three, but it still wasn't that like Oregon level ridiculous first half shooting that you would expect them to have to do to win any of these games.
Right.
And the like, especially considering they were up by what, like 15 at halftime or something, 17 maybe. You would expect them to just be on some otherworldly shooting spree, which Frank's was, but no one else was. Like pretty much the rest of the team wasn't shooting very well, but man, the defense played really well. And then I went back and watched the Arizona State game, and you see why. They're playing man to man. The thing about it, we've ripped on this zone a bunch already in this like 5 episodes of this podcast, but it's kind of a cliche, but it's true. Like, zones make you lazy, and if you're just playing, and especially if it's not like a zone, like a matchup type man-to-man principles type zone, like it makes you lazy, and so. But this game and then the Arizona game too, when you watch them, like there was so many more just hands in the way, like. And then you saw they fouled Arizona State a bunch, and it seemed like by design. It was like, hey, bother their shots, like and then but you have a guy, but you're playing a guy like Marvin Cannon a ton of minutes, and he's the type of guy with like he's 6'5", but he has extra long arms and he's very athletic, and he can bother things. He can get his hands just in the way of stuff, and you saw a lot of guys, and that's. One thing that Ahmed Ali does on defense pretty well, like probably not much else because of his size, but he does get his hands in. Like, he's got really quick hands, and but a lot of times, like when you're playing a zone, that doesn't help. Like, you can't strip a guy when you're playing zone. But you just saw like guys were just contesting shots that you wouldn't normally see contested. I think of one particularly. That was on a break, and that guy from Arizona State, I can't remember his name now, but who shot 1,000 free throws, but he was.
Yeah, you're thinking of Lou Dort.
Yep. He basically LB made just the worst attempt at taking a charge I've ever seen.
And, right.
Like,
the guy went right around him.
Like 10 feet from the basket. Like, it's like, what do you think was going to happen there, man? And he like set up while he gave him a lot of time to think about it. But so he went right by him, goes up for a two-handed dunk, and Cannon just comes out of nowhere, contests a shot, fouls him, but blocks the shot in the process of fouling him, forces him to shoot 2 free throws. I think he missed one. And it's just like in the rest of the season, that would be an easy dunk because We don't. The WSU hasn't contested anything, and you saw like, oh, Arizona State and Arizona are missing a lot of layups. Well, also like our guys are actually trying to stop the layups because they're playing man to man. Like it
Yep.
was, and even when they switched to the zone, it was so much more active. Because like if
Yep.
you start out playing man to man, you switch to a zone in the middle, you're still going to play that zone like
Yep.
with your man to man energy. So it was. We have to, and we rip on him all the time, but you have to give Ernie Kent credit. Like he just pulled something out of his hat, and wow, it was actually basketball that was fun to watch. Like on both ends of the floor, it was crazy.
Yeah, and something I wrote about was that it wasn't even just the scheme decision. They've made a couple shifts in terms of personnel.
Yeah.
Before the season started, I wrote a pretty long thing making fun of Ernie's, propaganda tour, to tell everybody how much longer and athletic they were going to be. And I said, while that certainly might technically be true, Ernie has a real tendency to deploy his personnel very conventionally. So he's got a point guard,
Yeah.
he's got a shooting guard, he's got a wing, he's got a four. And over the years, that four, sometimes has been a stretch four, sometimes not. But a lot of times he's had, a Luke Jackson type, now Robert Franks. He likes those. Marty Lunin was another guy, right, who was a four who could stretch, right? So and then usually an active center who can run the floor is something that he likes. So when you look at WSU's personnel, you go, okay, well, that means, when we looked at it before the season, we said, okay, so either Robinson or Ali is going to start at point guard. So you're going to have somebody at point guard who's either 5'11 or 6'2.
Mm-hmm.
Viante Daniels is going to start and play, 30, 35 minutes a game. He's listed at 6'2, but I'm not sure he's 6'2. He might be like 6'1.
Yeah.
And so then Ellaby playing the wing, well, 6'6 at the three, is that all that long and athletic? I mean, not really, right?
Yeah.
And then you got Franks at the four. Well, Franks is 6'7", even though I know the media guide says 6'9" this year. He didn't magically grow 2 inches after his junior year. I mean, he's 6'7". So that's, a bit undersized for a four. And then you're going to start a 6'9" guy, maybe if you start Pollard, or a 6'7" guy if you start Isaiah Wade at center. And that's definitely undersized, right? So it's like, okay, so when you looked at all this stuff, it was like, I mean, they might be longer and more athletic overall, but in terms of how you're going to start guys or how you're going to play rotation minutes, you're not longer and more athletic, right? So then this weekend, they finally, he finally got a little bit creative with his personnel. He's still married to the point guard, which I'll come back to that in a sec. I really wish he would get away from, but that notwithstanding, he's playing the bulk of the minutes. It was Marvin Cannon at the 2, and he's 6'5". CJ Ellaby at the 3, 6'6", which again, that's not like real long for a 3, but that's certainly enough size there. And then you got Franks at the 4 and Pollard at the 5. Well, now you've got like, 4 guys between 6'5" and 6'9". You can do some things there with switching, with just sort of recovering around the basket. Some guys with long arms. Cannon can obviously get up. He had that monster block against Arizona, where he was actually beaten badly off the dribble and recovered to block the shot. So, when you deploy the personnel in that way, all of a sudden now you've got some length. Now I'd love to go even one step further, and I'd love for them to just play something like, Jazz Kuntz is getting a bunch more minutes too. I'd love to see him do something totally unconventional.
6'8".
He's 6'8", 6'9", right? So I'd love to see him do something even more
6'8",
unconventional.
like 125, I think.
Yeah, he's like 200 pounds, but
but
he is tall.
Being tall is good.
Right. And
tall
so
basketball, I don't know if anyone's noticed that, but
yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and play Ellaby at the point. I mean, let's get real weird.
I was just gonna say that because
he turns the ball over a bunch, but let's get weird. Like if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
He turns the ball over a bunch, but he's a better, like, he'll make up for it, and like his ability to facilitate, and he doesn't turn the ball over that much more than Ali or Robinson do.
Nope.
So, but he's a much, I think he sees the floor better than either of those two guys do. He's a better passer. I heard on one of the broadcasts this weekend, someone called him one of the best passers in the conference, which is, that's, I mean, he's a good passer. I don't know if he's that, but also the conference is shitty, so it could be
Yeah.
much true.
But there's an advantage to being 6'6", right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's,
absolutely.
you can see things that, 5'11" Ahmed Ali can't see.
Yep. Yeah, and so yeah, and he is a good rebounder at 6'6", so I don't know if that would hurt you defensively, um, but having a 6'6" guy guard the point might help you defensively, so it could give and take. But yeah, watch especially lately, like he's really like his ability to facilitate. That you'll see him bring the ball up a lot, Ellaby, anyway. So if you're just having Ali out there to be a spot up shooter at 5'11", then that's and Robinson's not a good spot up shooter.
No.
And he's not a good much, but
Javale Robinson is shooting 5 of 26 from 3 in Pac-12 play.
Yeah.
That's
so,
bad.
Just on that topic, which is fun, we get to do this because they won some damn games, but it's amazing when the team is going well, how when you're watching a broadcast and some of the players are just getting so oversold. I believe one of the it might have been Ted Robinson, but it might have been another guy. I think Ted Robinson did the Thursday game, so it was whoever did the Saturday game.
I think it was JB Long.
JB Long, yep.
Yeah.
JB Long. So JB Long says something akin to, who's a better role player in this league than Jeff Pollard?
Oh, dear God.
And I just cringed, and and I think they're like, Robinson's been doing some good things. I'm like, dude is like 1 of 8 from the floor, and he's turned it over 3 times. Like, what are you looking at? Like, yeah, you had like a steal. Like, okay, but anyways, not everyone's doing amazing, but Robert Franks though, when you play a little defense and then you have a superlative player like that, those are the type of games you can have on occasion when he gets hot,
Yeah, no doubt. Franks he's sort of a cheat code right now, to be honest. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say he is doing things that are every bit as impressive as what Klay Thompson did in his junior year. I mean, I know he doesn't have, 40 whatever points in the Pac-12 tournament against Washington yet, but I mean, the way he is affecting the game all over the floor. And I mean, let's be real, part of the defense is him.
Yep.
I mean, he's doing stuff now on both ends. That's like, I mean, when he was out, I remember saying like, well, whatever, excuses, people would make excuses, right? And I'm like, well, okay, great. They get Franks back, but it's not going to make the defense better, right? Because, I've become a believer in what he's doing. He was a legit presence around the rim, particularly with regards to penetration. People would get deep, and this is not a team that on the year has blocked very many shots. I mean, I'm not looking at it right now. Okay, now I'm looking at it. They are 253rd in the country in block percentage on defense. Yeah. So percentage of 2-pointers that get blocked. So they don't block a lot of shots, but now they're kind of doing this thing where Franks is aggressively helping, and it seemed like they didn't really want to do that early on.
I think they're
trying to
trouble.
Either to keep him out of foul trouble or save his legs or whatever. But now he's sort of selling out there. So I'm curious how the adjustment's going to come now. So I kind of alluded this at the end of my column, but there's going to be the adjustments coming to the adjustment, right?
Yeah.
The Cougs made their adjustment, caught both Arizona State and Arizona off guard. Sean Miller was like, kind of blew his mind that they played man to man for an entire game. So, there's going to be an adjustment to the adjustment. Going to be interesting to see what teams do to try and attack what the Cougars are doing now, particularly if Franks is going to be that aggressive. Yep. If teams maybe try to lure him out of position, or maybe be a little more have the person who he's guarding be a little more aggressive to the offensive glass.
Yeah, and another point on Franks, like you and I had talked about in the off season, just needed him to shoot more, and because despite his efficiency last year, he was pretty he definitely didn't have he didn't take the percentage of shots that you expect from like a number one scorer. He was more of a guy, you expect like a guy who is that much better than the rest of his team on offense.
Yeah.
You expect him more of along the lines of the numbers he has this year, where so last year. So just for our listeners, there's two. Just to determine who are kind of your most dominant offensive guys, there's two stats we use. They're possession percentage and shot percentage. So possession percentage is the number of possessions you have used a possession if you ended it in a free throw, a shot, or a turnover. And it obviously shot percentage is the same. It's just percentage of the possessions you're on the floor that you took the shot, and the possession percentage is percentage of the possessions on the floor that you ended the possession. So last year Frank's was around 25% possession usage. We call it usage just for an easier number, and then 26% shot percentage. And that's not enough for how good he was last year, especially considering how bad the rest of the offense was.
Right.
But so and you just saw games with him where he would just be lost, and you would because he just wasn't assertive enough. He kind of got that 26% as a function of teammates just looking for him. But this year I think you're seeing him look for the ball in more positions than in the post more, at the high post, the low post more. You'll because he's kind of scoring more on drives than he did last year, but he's also taking more threes than he did. Like he's just shooting the ball when he gets it more often, and even when he's contested or even when he's freaking 28 feet out, like he's pulling up, and he's shown he has that range, especially this weekend. So he's really done that this year. He's bumped up to 31% shots, 29% possessions. In Pac-12 play, he's 28% and 31%. Interestingly, I believe CJ Ellaby leads the conference in usage.
He does.
Which is crazy, but also makes sense if you watch the team. So but that's a good thing. Like in terms of the talent on this team, you want Ellaby and Franks to have the ball and shoot.
Yep.
So it makes sense. We don't need other guys to be shooting as much. But yeah, so that's been a great thing, and you kind of saw that come to fruition this week, where he could have these huge games because he is shooting so much, and be like it clicked for him, and he wins awards: Pac-12 Player of the Week, National Player of the Week, on 2 different awards I saw. So it was great, just a great weekend, man. It was just fun and good for them, like good for the kids, good for the coaches. Like it's just something that was needed. I will ask you one question, Jeff, though.
Yeah.
Do you think that saved Ernie Kent's job?
No, God, no.
Okay, no.
I mean,
yeah, no, Joe. No, do you think? I mean, obviously, you still would want him gone, but do you think? But in Chun's mind, did it save his job?
No, I mean, I don't know that I would if I'm the guy making the decision. At some point, I made that decision a long time ago.
Yeah.
That I mean, we're in year 5, and in fact, I read a nice little piece of research that Jordan Sperber, a guy I mentioned, I don't know, a few podcasts back, he does the Solving Basketball podcast, and he's kind of a stat-minded dude. And him and another guy did a little bit of data collection and data analysis and looked at coaches and said, okay, so when is it, really fair to evaluate, when they're, whether they're going to be a success or whether they should keep them or get rid of them or whatever. And they basically said year 3. Year 3 was the year that you should expect to start seeing the uptick, And year 3 for Ernie Kent was the year that his team ranked the lowest in KenPom.com. They went 13-18 overall, 6-12 in the Pac-12. Next year, which was last year, only won 4 games in the Pac-12. So, look, I mean, this thing's been trending downward for some time, just because you get a little, you have a good weekend, which is great. I mean, look, I'm not, again, I don't want to minimize it. I don't want to take anything away from the players in particular. So, whatever. And, Ernie said something that just sort of pissed me off anyway. He talked about, well, we needed to get to rock bottom before we figured out. I'm like, bro, shut up. Like, rock bottom, that's your job to keep them from getting to rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear like Mike Krzyzewski going like, we just needed to get to rock bottom. Like, Tony Bennett doesn't talk about needing to get to rock bottom. I mean, coaches that can coach don't let their teams get to rock bottom. So, screw you, Ernie. That was like a ridiculous thing to say. But, if I'm an administrator, this doesn't change my mind. I mean, I've already looked at, I've got, 4.5 years worth of data, to make my decision. And, I mean, I guess if they finish the year and go win, I mean, I don't know how many games they got left, 8 games, 7 games, whatever it is. I mean, they go win, 5 games from here until the end of the year, then I guess maybe I have to rethink it. I mean, at that point, but right now, I want to see, I mean, first of all, I hope everyone's really excited for this weekend. They're probably going to lose, so, I guess, okay, so they got 7 games left plus the Pac-12 tournament. So they win 5 or 6 of those, I guess maybe, but let's see what they do against Washington first. Let's see whether this really this defense change is actually a real thing. Let's see how Washington attacks it. Let's see what Ernie does when his back is up against the wall, because it really wasn't for 2 games. And it's real easy for him to ride his defense when there's a nice, comfortable margin. I'm very skeptical as to whether he'll continue to ride it in a tight game or a game where he's even a little bit behind.
Yeah, and Washington this week, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm sure there'll be like more Cougs eyes on the game, more alumnus eyes on the game, and it's going to be an ugly game. Washington is uglying up those games, like in Syracuse style, and I mean, if Franks is hitting 27-footers, then that's the perfect remedy for that defense. But
right.
But we'll see. Like, hopefully he can keep that going, and that'll be big. But yeah, defending Washington was a huge issue in the first matchup, especially in the second half. And we'll see if they can, if they have, a couple possessions where guys draw some fouls or get beat, if Ernie will stick with playing man-to-man, or if he'll just bail and go to his zone, because we've seen that happen before. We've seen him shy away from it very quickly. I hope he'll remember that it worked out pretty well this weekend. So
I don't have a lot of faith, but that's okay.
I don't either. But yeah, I mean, even given this past weekend, I wouldn't expect a fun game to watch this weekend. I will say so. Last week we talked about how they were careening towards being the worst WSU team in the pack, or in the Ken Palm era, and
not anymore.
So we talked about Ken Bone, his second to last, or his last team, basically got a huge win over like a good UCLA team, gave him a 30 spot bump, and they ended up well in front of any of the Paul Graham teams. But that basically that's what the Arizona State win did, and then they get tacked on another 25 spots with the with the Arizona game, and now I think they're probably pretty okay. They're probably not going to end up the worst team in the Ken Palm era. They're about in the 170s right now. So
they've actually gone up 52 spots with those 2 wins.
Yeah, that just shows how improbable they were. I think they were 7% and 9% probability. So
16% chance just to win 1 game.
Yeah. So that just shows you how crazy those games were, and how you probably should, if you're a Coug fan and you love Coug basketball, if you have them recorded, watch them, enjoy them,
Yeah.
because it's rare.
Heck yeah.
It's been rare like to have a weekend. I mean, obviously it's rare to sweep a road series, and which hadn't been done in since Tony Bennett was coach, and then it's really rare to sweep in Arizona for any team, and so it's a pretty crazy weekend. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we could talk about some good stuff. Uh, but now, unfortunately, Jeff, there's some bad stuff to talk about.
I know. There's more crazy, crazy things.
Yeah, so I don't remember what day it was, but last week you see a report from KXLY from Melissa Luck, and she's talking about she talked to some employees, and after there was rumors that had been spread, but she talked to a manager, a couple managers, and said that Cougar Country was closing. Um, and we all freaked out, and we all started reminiscing, and we were all thinking about looking at our bank accounts and seeing if we could, if we wanted to make a career change. And then then it circulated a post from the owner on Facebook that Cougar Country is not closing, and that was a rumor. But turns out that Cougar Country is closed. It's closed right now.
Yeah.
There's on their Facebook they cited some just management issues, and they're maybe not training the new manager from the old manager as good, it sounded like, but very low margin industry, easy to make tiny errors that will undo you even when you are an institution like Cougar Country is, with just magical fry sauce, which by the way I found out from a Cougar Country former employee that messaged me on or replied to a tweet on Twitter. It's just 50% mayonnaise and 50% ketchup.
Yeah.
I could have swore there was some,
like most good fry sauces are.
I could have swore there was some just a tiny bit of mustard in there, or maybe
I'm pretty sure
Worcestershire sauce or something. Because when my mom worked in high school at a place in Sela that has comparable delicious fry sauce called King's Row, and
Yeah.
and she said when they made the big vat of it, it was like mayonnaise, mustard, and then like a little bit of mayonnaise, ketchup, and a little bit of mustard, to give it a little bit more tang. But so I don't know if that on Twitter she said that's what it was,
That sounds like blasphemy.
I
I just
know, it's
don't
like
even want
really
to
it's just
know.
50% mayonnaise and 50% ketchup, blah blah blah.
No way.
Interesting. I know there's gotta be, because
I don't buy it.
I've done that at home a million times, and like
Does not
it
taste like Cougar
does not
Country.
do. But like, and you with Heinz ketchup, she says, I don't know, maybe I'm using the wrong mayonnaise or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's what I most lament is
Yeah.
like buckets of fry sauce. And
Gosh.
having fry sauce in a dispenser, which is always fun, because then you
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to like ask for extra.
Right?
And it's one of the most interesting things to me. Is I've learned that not so many Cougs share my love for Cougar Country.
Yeah. It's like that. Honestly, that surprised me because listen, let's be real. It's pretty hard to make a fast food burger be really good. I mean, if we're being just sort of brutally honest
Hmm.
about burger joints, right? Like everybody has their favorite burger joints. And if we're being real, like none of them really taste that much better than theirs. Now, there are some bad ones. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I mean, it's like, yeah, there are some places you can go and get a burger and it's just kind of gross, okay. But when we're talking like, sort of your local, small scale in general, fast food type place, I'm talking about, Cougar Country. I'm talking about, Dick's. I'm talking about In-N-Out. And I know In-N-Out's a little bit bigger, but a lot bigger, but you know what I mean? I mean, just,
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I mean, a burger's a burger, right? A burger's a burger is a burger is a burger for the most part, right? I mean, but then there's these other, there's other things that go along with that, sentimental value, like, Cougar Country's like, the place I like to eat when my parents came to town, because I certainly wasn't eating out when I was, just by myself. But, when my parents came, we're like, hey, let's get a burger. I'm like, yes, Cougar Country. So I get the super basket, and I
Yeah.
mean, just, yeah, it's like, it's a great burger, for what it is. And, just like any other place, I mean, people are like, In-N-Out's better than Dick's. I'm like, Dick's is better than In-Out's, and I'll fight you on that. And not because Dick's is that much better or any better. It's just, it's like, it's Seattle, and I'm from Seattle, and screw you, I'll punch you in the face,
Yeah, you have so many more memories of when you're eating a Dick's burger, and you can add that flavor to something.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Cougar Country, like, when I was in school, they, and I'm sure when you were, they had, like, I think it was Tuesday, they'd have Cub burgers on special, and they'd have, like, kids meals on special, and so we'd go and, like, spend a couple bucks, and really it was just to get whatever vessel I could dip the fry sauce in.
Sure.
Like, I'm dipping my burger in it, and my chicken strip, or my fries, obviously. But it's just that interplay of the sauce, the saltiness of the fry, and the greasiness and the fry sauce is just like something that's a good feeling. And when I go back for football games, I almost always go either, I usually, like, right when I get into town, if the place is packed, and but that's only 6 or 7 times a year.
Right.
It's not carrying you. I do have one good story, which I'll steal from Preston if you ever wanted to tell it on Cougs Center Hour. Sorry, Michael, because it was your wife that makes the story good. So, but so, sorry, getting over a cold here. But the 2016 Apple Cup, which was, of course, a just horrendous game.
Right.
After the game, I had no desire to do anything like in fun at all. I was
Right.
kind of mopey and
We just want to suffer.
and annoyed, and Preston says, we're going to Cougar Country. You want to go? I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you there, because I was stone cold sober after that game.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first time in my first 2 years of season ticket holder that I was sober enough to drive right after the game. So, because I hadn't had a drink for many hours, out of nervousness and then out of sadness.
Right.
So we meet up there. The place is just a madhouse because it's Apple Cup. So, like, there's more people in town, and it's more people who don't always go to Pullman, so they definitely want to go to Cougar Country, and it's like a crazy long wait for the food. It's like you're at a nice restaurant, like, wait for the food.
Right.
So we're sitting, we managed to secure a table, which was pretty lucky. So we're sitting and just waiting, and we're chatting, and we're gonna, like, how long do you think, what time do you think we'll get the food? So I'll place our bets on what time. And it's getting close, like, we're hearing the numbers go off, and it's getting really close to, like, some of the times that some of us predicted. And we're to the point where it's like right up, like, it's our turn next, and it's like a minute away from the time that Preston's wife Sammy had predicted. And we're staring at our watches, and right when it hits the time, they call our number, and, like, we just, like, well, I guess needed something to cheer for that day. Just, like, freaked out and started cheering, and everyone in the restaurant's looking at us like,
they're looking at you like,
what the hell is wrong with those
what
people?
the hell? Don't you know we just lost an Apple Cup? What's wrong with you?
But yeah, I don't think there is a time that I am drinking with Sammy and Michael and Pullman that we do not talk about that story. So it's a good one, and it made a terrible day pretty good. But yeah, that's, there's things like that, like, when you just have good memories of the place, and
Yeah.
and hopefully, someone will come in, or they'll figure it out, and someone will come in. I know Brian, who I know listens to this now, because he told me, Byron Anderson, our
Yeah.
Big Center Rise, he told me last night.
BA.
Listen to it. Yeah, we call him BA. And he made a suggestion in our Slack that they should put a Zips in there.
Oh, no.
I do have a kind of a cute story from a Zips if you want to hear it.
Sure. I like cute.
Okay. So, uh, Amanda and I were friends for quite a while before we were dating, and it's actually interesting. Like one of our we both grew up in Yakima, and so we were carpooling back home, and we had to drop actually her boyfriend at the time, off at the airport, and on the way we stopped in Ritzville at the Zips, and we had a blast there. And so I always joke with her, I'm like, that was really our first date, like right there at that Zips in Ritzville. Zips isn't too bad. I definitely don't think it's as good as Cougar Country, but I do like it because they have fry sauce and their food.
Yeah, like it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't see that happening. But who knows?
And I don't think it's better. Like it's,
It's not,
whatever.
yeah, I don't think it's better.
I mean, someday you will have this experience too, where it's like, I took my kids over for a football game, and I mean, your daughter is so young. Obviously, she doesn't really know what's going on yet, but there will be a day when you take your daughter to Cougar Country Drive In, and she is aware,
Or
of where she is. Well, maybe not, but I hope so. Where she is aware, right? So like one of my favorite things is, when Joshua was like a year old, I took him to Cougar Country Drive In for a game, and he dumped a full extra large soda all over my dad. It's like, but we still remember that, right? Because my dad, so grandpa was not quite aware enough to realize you don't put the cup within reach of the small child, and oop, there went the cup, right? And then, we went there, we go there every time we go visit. And, this last time, we went there, and the boys, oh, are we going to Cougar Country? Yeah, we're going to Cougar Country. You can get burgers, fries, and milkshakes. And oh, by the way, I will say most of the stuff, it's like whatever, it's burger, whatever. Their milkshakes kick ass, and their peanut butter milkshake in particular is world class. And I will fight anyone who wants to try and tell me otherwise. Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that.
Peanut butter is the best of milkshakes because let's take a highly caloric thing and put in the most caloric additive that we can, and
yes.
Just so delicious. I love peanut butter
yes.
milkshake. Now I just think about them more as my waistline gets bigger, but I still love them. But yeah, so hopefully not RIP Cougar Country.
I mean, come on, somebody's gonna make it work, right?
Well,
I mean,
there's a lot of jokes that, like on Die Hard Cougs, there'll be a GoFundMe, and I think my sister sent me a screenshot. There was one.
No, there.
Or maybe it was you. I don't.
No, it wasn't me. That's pretty funny though.
But yeah, I mean, like GoFundMe to save our burger stand,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean, I'd go do it. I'd like, hey, let's go. I'll run Cougar Country. Let's go. Actually, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to do that. That sounds awful.
Yeah, actually, never mind. Forget I said that.
Don't run a restaurant. It's
no.
awful. Also, if you're
can
listening and you want to go run Cougar Country, go do it. So,
yeah.
But also don't do it. It's awful. And I have friends that have restaurants and they're like have had restaurant businesses before, and they hate it. Like, unless you're like just really into the food.
It's really hard.
It's really hard. Like, it's a pain. You have to have a ton of employees. You have to, yeah. You can't.
And you have to work all the time.
Yeah.
And if you trust someone else to run it for you, they'll probably steal from you.
And if you're something like Cougar Country, if you charge more than $8 for a burger and fries, people are gonna flip. Like, so, like you have to like keep your prices low, and even though the price of what, like, people at a fast food joint, people are very sensitive to price changes. So even if your product, your supplies are getting more expensive, it's hard to change the price because people are like, hey, I used to pay, I used to know my $4 could buy me this and that, and now it can't.
Right.
But yeah, so like, it sounds completely miserable. But anyway, but please, anyone, go buy Cougar Country and
Yeah.
keep making fry sauce so I can have something to put in my belly before I go tailgate on Saturdays. Yeah. So yeah, that was a nice long conversation on Cougar Country. But let's do politics briefly today, because we're already pushing over an hour here. So the big thing the day that we're kind of doing this, recording this, is talking about the potential bill that will avoid a shutdown, which has just not, it actually has the original amount that they originally proposed in last December for border wall funding, which was 1.37 million, I believe, or billion, not million.
Yeah.
Million would have been a hell of a kick in the face.
Yeah.
But 1.37 billion compared to the over 5 billion that Trump asked for, neither of which are enough to build the actual wall he wants. But yeah, it kind of feels like, just from comments I heard from Trump today, he says he's not happy with it. Seems like he still will accept it. But then we're looking at, he still says that the wall is going to be built. So what else are we looking at there?
No, it's the wall is now going to be finished. Because according to the president, the wall has already started. It's big and beautiful, and they've made tons of progress. And even though that's all a lie, actually. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I kind of laughed today when I saw this, that, basically, it's not even just the same deal. It's actually kind of a worse deal, because in order to get the Democrats to even offer that amount again, the Republicans had to make some concessions on, particularly with the number of beds that ICE can use to detain immigrants crossing the border. So, the Republicans had to give up something just to get that number back on the table. And I think the Democrats would have loved to have that number be even less, but I think there was no way that Trump was going to lose that much face. So I think that was sort of the GOP thing, was, okay, look, we'll make some other concessions just so we're not losing even more face than we already are. I do think that Trump is not the type of person to retreat and resign and just sort of like take it laying down. Well, maybe he does take it laying down, but anyway, it's like I don't know, like, that he's going to be okay with just signing this bill into law. I don't think he wants another shutdown, because obviously that worked out disastrously for him before. Yeah. But I also think he's not going to be content to just sign this and admit defeat. I'd be shocked if they don't try something else, some other way to try and get that funding for whatever it is that he wants to try and build, whether that's the state of emergency, which, I just don't see any way that stands up to any kind of obviously, I'm not a legal expert. Disclaimer on the podcast. But, it just certainly doesn't seem like the sort of thing that's going to stand up to any kind of legal challenge. You don't have an emergency that's been going on for months and months and months, right? Like that's not how emergencies work. And so, I maybe he could try that. I would not be shocked if he did try something that ended up being more symbolic than anything else, something that they know is a loser in the courts, but he can point to as a, look, I tried everything. I pulled out all the stops, and it was those corrupt, judges and Democrats who kept me from getting it done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting fight. I just hope that he doesn't, take it to any extremes like that. Like you said, there'll be a lawsuit immediately that some judge, some federal judge will probably halt any sort of movement, but who knows? Yeah, in terms of him, like, what is it? Friday the 15th, they have to have the funding.
Yep, they got till Friday.
I just don't see them letting the shutdown happen again. It was so bad politically for Trump and for the Republicans. I don't think that I guess if you listen to what McConnell and was saying today, like he was fine with the bill because he just doesn't want to see them get trashed again. And so I think you could kind of see just in his language how he was kind of putting pressure on the president just to sign the dang bill and then let us move on to something else. And kind of it's interesting. I feel like they intentionally wanted to create this debate over a shutdown, and then they were hoping to pin it on the Democrats. It didn't work out for them that way. And now, like you said, they're having to concede more to get what they originally turned down. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has to sign it, right? I mean, if he doesn't sign it and there's another shot, it's like,
no, he's
okay, well, we put this on your desk, like the
we'll
Democrats
talk about it next week if he doesn't sign it, but
yeah, I mean,
but,
they sort of, they sort of painted him into the corner on it, and Pelosi's really sort of like running laps around him at the moment.
Yeah. She's she's having a great PR month and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
Which she probably desperately needed, just for the sake of her her ability to govern as Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Probably really needed that, considering the number of Democrats that were originally kind of pushing for her to never even regain the title or regain the position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Nice short political discussion there. It's it's kind of been all over the news, and but I think hopefully we won't see some of our friends out of work again for however long, and some of our friends who have already had to stay at home with their kids because of the snow out here. But,
yeah. I know. I haven't been to work, and well, let's see. I was at work on Friday. I get to go back to school tomorrow. This is Tuesday night, so tomorrow, and we're 2 hours late already tomorrow. So I'm gonna teach basically half a day tomorrow and teach on Thursday, and then I got Friday off again for midwinter break. I got a 4-day weekend. So yeah, yay teaching. I'll be, when the podcast gets to June though, I'll be complaining about how I'm still working and it's 75 degrees outside. So
yeah, I'm ready for the snow to go away. I don't.
Yeah, me too.
Anymore. It was pretty for like a day, and it just the rain and the snow this morning made it a hell of a combination of just really heavy snow, and it's just my dog Baxter. It's just the porch is covered in snow, so he just pees and poops on the porch, like right into because he's like, whatever, it's the same thing. He doesn't even realize that this is a dog that's like trained to only, like, he will not eat anything that is not grass. Like we put him, we'll never board him at PetSmart again, because they don't take the dogs outside. They have a look like fake grass mat, and he refuses to pee on it. Because one time we picked him up after an overnight, and as soon as he got outside, like he just went on the concrete. He couldn't even get to grass, and just went for like the longest I've ever seen him pee. So yeah, now he's pooping and peeing on the porch, which will be fun to deal with when that melts.
That is so exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And we still have the 4 dogs, which I mentioned earlier. So
oh dear.
Yeah, that's just been a lot of fun, But yeah, so right before we got on this podcast, I was watching some interesting TV on Netflix. Jeff, have you ever heard of a show called Russian Doll?
I have seen the little preview thing that Netflix does on it, right? Yeah. Like when you scroll past it, they play a little clip for you. Yeah, I've seen that, but that's the extent of it.
right when you turn it on, if like you're not paying attention for like 5 seconds, it's like yep, you're watching this preview. You're watching it right now. I don't care what you say.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's interesting, really interesting, and I think I've enjoyed it so far. It's only like 8 episodes. It is. I think her name's like Natasha Lyonne. She's been around actress for a while. I think most recently, she's famous for Orange is the New Black. And so basically the premise is, I'm not giving away anything because if you watch the preview, this isn't the premise. Basically, she is running through this kind of Groundhog-esque situation, Groundhog Day-esque situation where she dies, but she dies and then she comes back to the same moment where the show starts. Like, so every time she dies, she comes back to the same moment where she's at her friend's party. Like, it's actually her birthday party, standing over a sink. And so it's interesting watching it progress, because at first you're like, how the hell is this a show? You know, like what interesting could happen, but it does get very interesting. It's got some explicit stuff, so if your kids are around, I wouldn't recommend watching it. Obviously it's on Netflix, so you can cuss, and there is a particular moment where she wakes up and looks and sees a pile of people who have clearly had an orgy before they fell asleep, and there's maybe a sex toy sticking out of someone's parts. So yeah, definitely don't have the kids around.
No. Yeah, no.
There's open ketamine use and things like that. But it's a great show. I've really enjoyed it. It makes me feel cool because it seems kind of like young and hip thing to watch, so I feel like I'm in the know, watching the thing that Netflix is essentially forcing down your throat. But yeah, it's a good show. I've enjoyed it. We're about 4 or 5 of the 8 episodes in, and just the 4 or 5 episodes we watched have been, a lot has happened. They're only 30-minute episodes, which is nice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like a show that'd be hour long, but it's 30 minutes, which works perfectly for it, and a lot happens in those 30 minutes, and you're trying to figure out what the hell is going on, like why is she dying, and coming back to life, and because she's trying to figure out. But yeah, it's a interesting show. Have you watched anything interesting lately, Jeff?
Well, so I'm not much of a TV show watcher. Just, there's a time factor involved when I'm dealing with children and ferrying them to all their various locations. I'm grading papers. I'm podcasting. I'm trying to write for Cougar Center. I got, I don't have a lot of time, but my wife and I do have a few staples. So Sarah and I like to watch. We like to watch This Is Us, like just about, I think, every other person in America.
No,
you don't?
Why would I want a show that I know is like going to make me cry or be
that's the point.
What's the point?
That's the point.
Did you like Marley and Me, like knowing that the dog's gonna die at the end because you wanted to cry about the dog dying?
It hits me right in the feels, Craig.
Dude, just watch a video of a soldier coming home to a dog or something.
Yeah, maybe.
It takes 5 seconds.
So we watched that.
Sorry, I can't do
that.
I can't do
that's
that.
Okay.
And
I know you're not the only one, for sure.
No, I said everyone in America, Jeff. So
yeah, almost everyone in America. And then so tonight, before we got on the podcast, Sarah and I have finally also gotten around to watching season 3 of The Man in the High Castle.
Yes.
So
now we can be friends again.
Yep. So we're about halfway through season 3, and by the way, a really, really underrated. A really, really underrated decision in that series was casting J. Edgar Hoover as a Nazi. Like that was.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That was. I mean, so much of the show is like, I mean, it's interesting and it's fascinating, and it's sort of weird how you get used to seeing all the swastikas, and it's just it's sort of like, is this like, for lack of a better term, it's kind of this like giant mind fuck, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, you're just kind of watching this alternate reality, and and it is kind of weird too. I mean, it's definitely sci-fi-ish and whatever, but anyway, there's just sort of all these things where, what life might be like. And the idea that there's this alternate universe where J. Edgar Hoover is a Nazi is sort of hilarious. And I
I
think totally underrated.
totally underrated. And then like when you're watching it, like when his character pops up, and you're like, wait, what are they calling him? Wait, is that is that really J. Edgar Hoover?
Right. They're like,
And
Hoover,
then,
get Hoover. And it's like, wait a second.
honestly, like if you look up the history of J. Edgar Hoover, it's
Yeah,
not that
not
like
that
it's
far
not out of
fetched.
not that far fetched that that's what
No.
he could have done. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that was one of the parts I'm like, wow, that's great. And the yeah, that show's just really well done.
Yeah.
It just some of the way, like you said, the way it mind fucks you because you find yourself at times like feeling these sympathies for these awful characters
Yep.
and yeah, it's just it's very well acted, well written, and
Yep.
just a really interesting premise. So,
Yep.
which obviously wasn't one they invented. It's based off a Philip K. Dick novel.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This might be blasphemy to you as an English teacher, but if I find out about a TV series and I haven't read the book, like if I'm really into the TV series and it's really good, like I don't want or the movie or something, like I don't want to read the book first because
No, that's not blasphemy at
I
all.
don't want it to be spoiled. Like the show is so well done. Like I'm sure the book is good, but the show is so well done that I don't want to read it and have anything spoiled. I
Yeah.
think they're and because I think that, but I think they're getting. I think by the end of this season, like they'll kind of hit most of the source material,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
Adaptations are usually pretty different anyway. I mean, it's,
uh,
especially now with, I think especially in the last like 10 to 20 years, it seems like that stuff that's built off literature, because like directors are really taking advantage of whatever medium it is that they're using, and exploring, visual things that the book just can't even hope to do. And so,
yeah,
yeah, so I look at them as, different works anyway, most of the time. By the way, I do want to give a plug for the best show that I watched that I would recommend to anybody, and that is The Good Place. And if you don't
yes,
watch The Good
yes,
Place, you should find season 1 of The Good Place and start watching it immediately
yep,
and get all the way through. What are we at now? Season 3, season 4, whatever it is. Really, I think it's the best show on television, and everybody should watch it.
100% podcasters and everyone endorsed.
Yep.
It's so frustrating in how short the seasons are. They're more of a cable season. They're only 13
Yep.
episodes long. I've heard that so you know who created that show, right?
Yep.
One of my so it's funny. So if you are a long time reader of blogs and the internet, you may remember Fire Joe Morgan blog
Yep.
and a guy named Ken Tremendous who has made
Yep.
quite a career for himself as a TV writer, creating being a contributing writer and being Cousin Moe's on The Office, creating Parks and Rec, creating Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and creating The Good Place, which are all, to me, excellent shows. Just like a list of some of my favorite sitcoms ever. And he has been a driving force behind all of that, and he is incredibly talented, as we knew when he was making fun of Joe Morgan. And so it's just been, yeah, and The Good Place is just, yeah, probably his best work. And apparently he already has it all planned out. So we know there's going to be just a set number of seasons, like the set number of episodes. Like it's not going to be one of these sitcoms that drags out because it's really successful or whatever, which is kind of a bummer. But at the same time, you're like, well, I know it's just going to be good. Like it's just whatever we see from it,
Yep.
it's going to be good.
Yep, it's The Good Place. It's funny, it's clever, it's
Okay.
the entire premise is so insane, and like it just It really is, and there's so many like little jokes, and sometimes I have to like read like people's like post-show blogs on it to kind of catch. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's what
Yep.
So
Yeah.
like I'll read it and I'll be like, I didn't even catch that. It's like there's just so many like clever intellectual jokes. It's just it's yeah, it's a superior show. I'm shocked that it's lasted this long because it is so clever and interesting, and it's not your typical and you also really have to watch from the beginning. Like you can't
You definitely.
you really have no clue what's happening if you were to pick it up right now and start watching it. And maybe that's
But
the
I think the streaming era has served it
yes,
well, because
definitely.
I didn't catch it up to it till season 2, I think, because and then I remember we watched season 1 streaming somewhere while season 2 is happening, and then now it's like when it's on we want to watch it immediately, and then when it's over we're like, what the hell, that was the season finale, like what, why, because it's always only 13 episodes and you're expecting
Right.
long
I want
network
more.
TV
I want like
season.
10 more episodes.
Yeah, exactly. But then yeah, it's just like, then they make you wait, but I think at this point, like, it's kind of it's like NBC's premiere show currently, so I think they'll let him run its course.
Yep. It's fantastic. I honestly cannot recommend it enough. And because the seasons are short, it's actually not that much of an investment to binge watch and catch up. Yeah,
Yeah,
really,
it's like
really
your
good.
typical 22 to 24 episodes, and honestly, it's a very binge watchable show.
Yep.
Yeah,
Episodes are short. It's a
yeah,
good show.
and there's a storyline that goes throughout, and there's pretty much something hanging at every end of every episode. So it's one of those you could watch 10 at a time if you're not really paying attention. And yeah, it's an excellent show. Just like the characters are just hilarious, and it's just there's a super big Jacksonville Jaguars Blake Bortles fan in there, which is fantastic. And then the Jaguars got good in the middle of it, which I think threw a curve
Right.
on them. So like we kind of had to address that.
Talking about how awesome Blake Bortles is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
great show.
good recommendation there. Um, so this is where we talk about kids usually. I know that you had some real fun trying to be a good dad and trying to be an efficient human
Oh dear.
by handing down your old smartphones to your children when you and your wife got new smartphones. So tell us about how that day went.
Yeah, so we finally decided that for our son who's about to be 12, he spends a bit of time, at home after school, and not a ton of time, but a little bit of time. Needs to be able to call and check up. Well, we don't have a landline at the house, and we'd set up, an old iPhone with just an iCloud account, and he could FaceTime us, let us know he's home. We finally decided, sometimes he stays after school for clubs, sometimes whatever. Okay, so time for him to have a phone. Plus Verizon like gouges you unless you have 4 lines. So we were like, fine, let's
Mhm.
just get 4 lines. And Joshua can have his phone. And then we were like, okay, well, I guess the 9-year-old can have a phone too, because it doesn't make a lot of sense not to have it. Which is totally,
Tristan's like an 11-year-old.
yeah, he kind of
Like,
acts like one.
yeah, he like acts as old as Josh does. Like,
Yeah, and believe me, he'll tell you all about it too. That he's
yeah.
very mature. So we just decided, fine, so we'll get, and Verizon was running a killer deal for the 10Rs, the iPhone 10Rs. And so we were like, let's we'll get new 10Rs. We've only got, like we've had the other ones for about a year and a half, but, we'll go ahead and pass those down, the 8 pluses, pass them down to the kids and
Oh,
whatever. So
wait, hold on. So, your kids now have a more up-to-date iPhone than I do.
yeah, you should probably
Still
get on
rocking
that,
this.
Craig.
I'm rocking the 7 Plus. So, which
You
is
should
still like
probably, you should probably take care of
they've barely improved on the 7 Plus. There's no reason. The 8 Plus
that.
is basically the same, and the
Yeah.
10Rs are all weird. So,
I will
anyway,
say the so far the facial recognition is kind of cool / creepy for unlocking my phone. So that part's kind of cool. But anyway, so we get the new phones, which is great. But then of course you have to do the whole, phone dance with,
Yeah.
taking the new phone and getting all your stuff moved over to the new phone, and then whatever. So I swear to God, I spent all day yesterday, dealing with these 4 phones, trying to get them set up and trying to, move stuff over and trying to set up the screen time on the phone. So for the kids accounts, you can like monitor how much screen time. So I'm trying to set that up, trying to set up the Find My iPhone so that I can, keep tabs on my children, right? Wherever
Yeah.
they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
so I'm setting all this stuff up, but this like, it took me, I was exhausted by the end of the night last night because trying to do this and waiting for some things to get done. Sarah's phone wasn't backed up properly. Not her fault. It just wasn't, there's some setting wasn't right. So I'm trying to get her phone backed up so I can get it restored to the new phone, like all this stuff. But the funniest part of the day was that, okay, so we're sitting there at Verizon and we're like, okay, we have 3 boys. So I have an 11-year-old who's almost 12, 9-year-old, and then a 6-year-old who's almost 7. And for the listeners who don't know this. And so we're sitting there and Sarah and I kind of look at each other. We had this plan. We kind of look at each other and we go, wait a second. Like, okay, so Joshua's getting a phone. Tristan's getting a phone. Atticus is getting nothing. Like, we're just kind of like,
good luck with that.
right. So we're like kind of trying to figure this out. Well, eventually, so we're like kind of talking to the guy there, and he's like, well, like if you need another device, we have iPads, we have this. I'm like, we're not buying an iPad, I mean, come on. So anyway, so eventually we see they have these kids watches. They're basically phone watches. They're called Gizmo watches, and so it's a smartwatch. It's a really simple stripped down version, right? So what you do is there's a companion app that goes with it. You can program like a certain number of phone numbers in there, and then only those numbers can either the watch can only receive calls from those numbers or make calls to those numbers. So okay, so we get him this watch and we program it. We're like, okay, that's great. The watch was like, $100 or whatever, and okay, great. It's $5 a month for the phone line. Okay, fine. So we get him this thing and he's excited, and his birthday is like 2 weeks away. We're like, this is your birthday present. He's like, great. Okay, so he's wearing this watch. So we get it all programmed up, and we program in, our phone numbers, his brother's phone numbers, his grandparents' phone numbers. I swear to God, that kid has not stopped calling people for the last 24 hours. Like, all he's done is call people. He will call you when you're upstairs. He will call you when you're across the room. He will punch in on his little phone and call you. And I'm like, Atticus, I'm right across the room, and I'll answer it. I'll be like, hello, Atticus. And he goes, hi, Dad, bye. And then hang up. And then he laughs, and he runs away. And it's just like, what are you doing? And so he has a very special relationship with my dad's wife. He calls her his Gaga. And I swear he has probably called her 50 times already. And she has been very loving and patient, and has been very like I said, loving and patient with him, and had phone calls with him, and it's pretty hilarious. We're hoping at some point here the novelty wears off. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but
it's tough to say with a 6-year-old. The novelty of wear off.
And the main selling point with the watch was the location, right? So it's like if he's wearing the watch, we know exactly where he is.
Yeah.
Not that he spends a lot of time alone, but we'll know exactly where he is. So that was kind of the main selling point. He gets a neat tool. He can, not that he's going to be making a ton of phone calls, but if the occasion ever arose, then he could make a phone call, and he does love talking to his Gaga. So it seems like it's working out so far. All the phones are working out so far, and Dad, the IT guy, only wasted an entire day trying to make that happen.
Yeah, that's always fun. I've only ever set up like one phone at a time, so
I don't recommend setting up 4 at the same time.
Yeah, so
actually,
I guess my kiddo story this week is technology related as well, and Apple technology related as well. Because what else do we even have these days? As I'm talking to you on my MacBook Air,
right?
my iPhone sitting next to me. So I was like I said, I was in Nashville this weekend, and you start missing your kid, and it's funny. Before we had a kid, like I'd go on a work trip or whatever, and Amanda and I might text each other a few times during, but it wouldn't be like some big deal to get on a call or whatever. But now I'm like finding myself like, okay, I have this time available. I want to face chat or FaceTime Beatrix, and so we have to. I'm like, don't let her go to sleep. Like she usually naps that time. Don't let her do it. So every day while I was in Nashville, I FaceTimed her, and it was interesting. She's gotten so much. She knows that. Like if Amanda grabs the iPad and like opens up or an app or she'll say like dad, dada, dada, and then she gets on the and this isn't funny, it's gonna be cute. Sorry if you're looking for funny. So I'll tell you this kid when I'm hanging out with her, including right when I got back, today or the last couple days. I'm like, hey, give daddy a kiss. And she's like, yeah, give daddy a hug. And she's like, yeah. And, but strangers, like, or friends that'll come over, she'll give them hugs and kisses all the time. But it was strange when I was in Nashville, like I wanted to FaceTime with her, but I couldn't even see her face because she kept trying to kiss my face on the screen. Like, cause she's learned the like kiss like thing. And so she's trying to kiss my face on the screen. She's trying to hug. Like her version of a hug is just to put her head right next to your head. Like she hasn't really figured out what the heck a hug is. Like she only knows the head part. She doesn't know the arms part yet. But she does the kiss. She's doing that the whole time. And like I think she's figured out that it's me on iPad. Like she did a while ago, and she always, even when she was like, my first business trip, I think was when she was 2 months old, and she smiled when she saw me on the thing. I think that was just because she could see see something on the screen. That's the only thing she was interested in. But now she knows it's me, because she'll grab the iPad and try to look around it, like look behind it. Like and then she'll get frustrated. Like if we talk for too long, she'll get mad because she'll wonder where I am. So it's pretty interesting to see her kind of evolution with this. Because she just like she kept trying to bring books to me, and like it was pretty funny. Like she's just like figured out this this FaceTime thing, but she refuses to accept that I'm not actually there, because she can see my face, so I must be there. We were playing peekaboo. She couldn't stop playing peekaboo. That's because she's definitely in the peekaboo is her most favorite thing. Like even I was getting tired. I was like, okay, daddy needs to leave, and she'd be doing some, like going below the table, up above the table, below the table. Like, okay, and because you don't want to make her sad, but of course when you hang up, she's on to her next thing. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so it's been pretty funny, like watching her kind of evolve to like the way she deals with FaceTiming me when I'm out of town, and the way I deal with like having to like schedule time to FaceTime my daughter because I'm. This is why I don't watch Last of Us. Last of Us is a great video game. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, so so that's my kid story. It's not very funny this week. Sorry.
But it's cute.
It's so cute. Yeah. So, well, that's probably good. I think all of y'all are probably tired of listening to us.
That's okay. We don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. If you like this, please give us 5 stars on whatever you are listening on, and if you don't like it, I
Screw
don't
you.
care.
We don't like you
Screw
anyway.
you. We don't like you. Also, don't rate it.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Yeah, just give us a 5-star rating, and then the description say it sucks, but just still give a 5-star rating.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can find us now. I don't know. I guess I don't need to tell you that, but you can find us everywhere now. Pretty much everywhere. Even Overcast. Yeah, we're on there too.
Yep.
So, uh, you can, like I said earlier, I always tweet out the beer I'm having while we're recording the podcast, so you can get some like inside info, like
There you
before it
go.
drops. So that's the Craig Powers. Um, and then if you like Instagram's Craig W Powers, I put lots of beer on there. If you're listening to this for the beer, which you would have stopped listening an hour ago. Um, and then yeah, so please keep listening. We appreciate it, but also we don't care. Like just don't listen. I don't care. Do you care, Jeff?
Nope. Don't care.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Again, we don't care. And bye.
See ya.